Hey, beautiful believers. So I want to share an interesting encounter or interesting situation that I encountered recently. So, I'm looking to make a move as soon as God says it's time, out of my people leadership role, but I don't want to sacrifice any salary, right? I really need a salary increase. Um, so anyway, so typically I'll, apply for positions inside, outside of my company just to see what happens or get experience in interviews or, just ideas on interview questions and things like that to make sure I'm always prepared. Um, so I'd applied for a job or a position in the on the workforce management team in my company because one thing I don't I've invested almost this will be my ninth year into my company and I feel really committed to this company. I really feel like it's a company where I should be at based on the foundations of the company and where the company is going. And I feel like it's a great direction, even though, there's been a season of darkness at this company. But I do know that I see the light. It is coming and is happening in present. So anyway, I applied for this position in the workforce management team, not in my particular sales position area, but in the customer service arena, which I'm familiar with. Now, I don't have any workforce management experience or anything like that, so I'm not too, let down. Even if I was fully, I'll take that back because I've applied for a position that I of something that I did with my company. I actually performed this position for years and applied for the actual position and didn't get it. So anyway, I applied for this position, didn't get it. Didn't get a screening or anything. I just got an email like, hey, we decided to move forward with someone else. And I'm not really, my feelings weren't hurt. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, nothing like that. It was just like, hey, I was just going to put myself out there and see what happened. So today, in our area, we have workforce management meetings every week, and they kind of sit and like give answer our questions or whatever, so that we're all aligned. And so I go into the meeting, nobody's in there, and I normally go just to sit and hear things. A lot of times, I don't even have anything to contribute. I just want to see what other leaders are asking and things like that because I want to be in the loop on whatever may happen. They may ask something that I may not have thought about. So I'm talking to the manager and the agent who are facilitating the meeting, and I'm like, yeah, you guys, I applied for a position in workforce management in another arena, but they didn't even screen me, like they just gave me they gave me the shoot down email. I was like, but I'm not sad or anything like that. I just know it's not where I'm supposed to be at, and so the manager's like, oh wow, and I'm like, well, I'm not too surprised because I didn't have any experience, and they're like, well, we were both hired with no experience, like, so they start giving me a little bit about their journey. So he's like, for me, it's not all about experience; it's about somebody who has critical thinking. So I'm like, oh, okay. So then he's like, okay, so here's a question I'm gonna ask you that I would ask in the interview. And I'm like, oh my goodness, how did I get in the hot seat? So he kind of asked me like, how many on a Friday, on an average Friday, how many pizzas do or how many average Americans buy pizza on a Friday? So before he asked me the question, he's like, you don't have to answer it right away. You can think about it or whatnot. So I'm like, okay. So he's like, ask me the question, like, how many people on average buy pizza on Fridays? So I'm just thinking to myself, and I'm like, well, kind of just processing out loud. I'm like, well, now my daughter, she works in Mellow Mushroom, so I'm trying to take into account, like, when I go pick her up from work, like, what kind of traffic I see going in and out there. I said, now, but when you think about something like that, you got to think about Chicago, who's famous for pizza, right? So people are going there to vacation just to get pizza, and they typically go out on a Friday. And then New York is also another place that could be famous for their pizza, so you got to take all that into account. And so he like mentions how many Americans, like however many millions or billion, whatever, and all that. And I'm like, okay, so you said how many Americans? And he's like, he gives me the numbers. So I'm thinking, well, I don't think it's half of all Americans, but I also, so I think a good range would be like maybe half of all Americans, whatever. So I'm like 20 million. And he's like, well, what happened is you kind of gave me what I wanted in your response, because he's like, I need somebody who's going to think outside the box. Like, hey, think and taking into account Chicago. He's like, now if you'd have gave me just a straightforward guess, that would have I would have been saying there was a lack of critical thinking on your part, but because you took all those things into account, that is the critical type of critical thinking I'm looking for. So I was like, hey, if you ever got a position open, let me know. He's like, you know what? If I ever do have anything, I will reach out to you. I just wanted to share that because that is, I promise you, like after that conversation, I was like, God, that was so you because if it hadn't been for, and who knows what God is aligning in my future, He knows, but I don't. But just things like that, like the door being shut on the other workforce management position, which I was fine with, like even with them, I was like, I'm cool with it. If it's not for me, it ain't for me to move. But because God is gonna put you where He wants you. But just to think, like when I'm thinking about the whole situation today, I'm like, wow, that door being closed was the opportunity to create that conversation with them. And then and the thing is, I've been building a relationship with them, so, there was no ulterior motive or anything like that. They even said during the meeting, like, you are like one of the, like, you have the award for best gifts, right? And he was just saying how, you're such an approachable person. And that's why, you're requesting things typically get approved. And I'm like, well, I don't do it for that. I just do it because I love the relationship between y'all and I respect you all as our workforce management team and everything that you do. And you all are the ones that keep order, like, and you are teammates. So that's the only reason that I do anything I do. I just want us all to be united and, aligned as a team. So I just feel like it was a very telling conversation. I thought it was very interesting that would come up and he would ask that. Who knows, like I said, what seed God might be planting. He's always working. He's always working on our behalf. And I have known, being in my company, I know for a fact he is continually working on my behalf. I've seen so much favor on my job that I literally have to stop and say, God, I know that's you. I know that's you. Today, when I answered that question, like, I know that's God. But God actually revealed one more thing to me in that, and I don't want to be too long, but He revealed to me that what I call overthinking is what they call critical thinking, right? Because for me, when I go into all these different things and think about Chicago and not just giving the answer, I'm thinking, you're really overthinking things. But I saw that in a different light today where he thought it was critical thinking. So, hey, who knows what may come about? Y'all be praying for me. I do want to make a move at the time that's right. But I just thought I'd share that. I thought I would share that. I thought that was very interesting and hopefully that helps somebody else. I spoke with another one of my team members today and she was like, you know what? Now I feel better about, my, what I think is overthinking, right? So it definitely helped her out and I hope it helps somebody else out. I love y'all, beautiful believers. Happy Thankful Thursday. And y'all have a beautiful night. Enjoy your moments. Peace.